I wanted to expand, but I didn't have the manpower to expand. The dynamic was changing, but we dug deep.
We created a monster. And that's when the competition starts.
Rich Harris and Nina Bartlett, former pub owners who ran multiple high-pressure venues, clocking 80-hour work weeks, juggling teams, family, and even COVID while building an award-winning business. Now, they've built a thriving property portfolio through serviced accommodation, HMOs, investor partnerships, and even run their own letting agency, achieving true financial independence and time for family. Their incredible mindset shift from hospitality burnout and fear of change to embracing education, community, and smart investing proves you can escape the grind and become self-unemployed.
We had 2 pubs. What are the goals financially? Just keep going. We don't really have a financial goal. That will always keep rolling.
Rich and Nina, welcome to the podcast.
Aye.
I've known you for a while, and I've known you do several different things through different. I mean, I've only known you a couple of years, but you've gone through several chapters.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Massive chapters.
So where should we begin?
I mean, I guess that from a business point of view was the pubs, really.
So you owned a pub. You were together.
Yeah, so it's me.
Yep.
I was.
And
on
you
my
owned a
own.
pub. You were
Leased.
Oh,
we
you
leased
right.
our pubs, yeah. All of
But
our
a pub.
leased.
You had a pub business.
Yes, yeah.
We did,
yeah.
yeah. So I was based at the pub. I would run it without staff, sort of Sunday to Thursday. Thursday onwards, I would have a team. Rich would go out, work in the day, come home, and then he would make comments like, "All you do is stand here all day."
Well, the thing was, like, you were always working evenings, weren't you? So
Yeah.
I would either go and sit in the bar, which wasn't really it was enjoyable, but the only way I got to see Nina was to go into the pub. So I thought, well, I just as well come behind the bar and work with you. So that's how it started, really.
Yeah, you made a few comments, which Rich always makes comments. And it started off with being that kind of, "Oh, you think it's really easy, do you? Okay, you come and work here." And his second shift, he managed to feed someone that was gluten-free gluten. And he quickly learned your spot, didn't you? It was one of those crash courses in hospitality in 48 hours.
But the bar for me was really easy. Standing on the bar, all the people were workmen. They were all on site. I come from a building site, so I could just chat to them, and it was quite normal. The restaurant side of things is where I really struggled.
Disaster. I wouldn't even say struggle. I would say disaster. But we went with it and it worked because our downtime was then our downtime because Rich came off site and came into the pub full time. We quickly realised that my team that had been established with me weren't quite so happy to have Rich around. The dynamic was changing. They knew they had to kind of step aside. They didn't really have much respect for you, did they? They were very kind of, you were starting to tread on toes. And it was quite obvious quite soon that I wanted to expand, but I didn't have the manpower to expand. But with Rich and myself teaming up in both our personal life as well as our professional life, it really felt like, oh, we could be onto something here.
And there wasn't really enough work in one pub for both of us.
Yeah.
I wasn't a chef or anything, so normally you would have just one in the kitchen, one out front, and you would be a team like that. I wasn't a chef, so we would have to work separate shifts, so then we still wouldn't see each other. So that became really hard. So there was only one option, wasn't there?
Well,
didn't you get another pub?
We got another pub.
We got another
so
pub.
we got one each.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that doesn't solve the problem of not being able to see each other.
It did, because then we could both work, for instance, Tuesday to Sunday, and then we would have the Monday off, or we'd have the same day off.
Yeah.
Whereas before, we would have to split our days off. So.
But there was one problem.
Yeah.
Well, there was a couple of problems. The first problem was Richard you'd never run a pub, let alone started a new pub, pub venture, started it from the off, marketed it. Staff HR is still not your area, darling, is it?
No.
And that become really evident as to why, part of the reasons why we left our pubs. It's just not your thing, is it?
I remember the first time behind the bar, one of the chefs come out of the bar and said, "Rich, could you get me a drink?" And I was just like, I'm from a building site. I was like, go and get it yourself. What are you on about? Go and get it yourself. And Nina was like, you can't speak to people like that. And I was like, it's a completely different mindset.
100%.
Oh,
100%.
God.
I was cringing. It was my head chef. I was like, whoa, do you know how hard these people are to replace? You cannot speak. We're a team. And it became quite clear quite soon that we had a long way to go.
One of the key things to understand about building wealth is that money is a form of wealth, but it's not a very good one because it's falling in value due to inflation. The target is for 2% inflation. Recently, it's been much higher. So even in a good year, money is losing its value. So wealthy people do not have lots of money. What they do have is assets. Stocks, silver and gold, even crypto are assets that will go up as the value of money falls. And one of the best assets to invest in is property. It's extremely difficult to build wealth by trading your time for money in a regular job like most people do. But we're not like other people. You'll have seen how many of my guests are using various strategies to build their wealth through property. People like Albert and Chris doing a strategy called BRR. John using a creative way to finance investments without any of his own money. Yolanda, who's doing amazing things in social housing. Shannon and Jag are making money from property they don't even own with rent-to-rent and serviced accommodation. And other guests like Elijah and 17-year-old Kane are making money just by finding good deals and selling them on. All of these guests have learned these strategies from Samuel Leeds and his Property Investors Academy. So if you're interested in building your wealth through property, even if you don't have money to invest, Samuel is running a free webinar where you can learn more about all of these strategies. There's a link in the description to sign up, and it's free, so you've got nothing to lose. There's so much more to the Academy than just the training, and I don't have time to go into all of it now, but this free webinar is a great first step.
We took on our second pub, got the keys, full of excitement. I was quite happy to stay down the road in mine with my team.
Hang on.
To a point.
The idea at the beginning was, I stayed in the little pub. The first pub was the little pub. It had 30 seats. It was nice, wasn't it? Letting rooms. It was manageable. But the pub we took on had 120 seats inside and 120 seats outside. So it was a beast. So Nina was going to go and deal with that. And I was going to stay in the little pub. Earn my stripes, if you like. And then Nina got pregnant.
Yeah. So it really was, what happened was, so as I got the second pub off the ground, we kind of realised this has to be Rich's. My staff can carry on at the Grove. They can carry on pretty much with the business model. I can be based there with baby in due course, upstairs. They've got access to me if they need me. It just made sense, didn't it?
Yeah.
But we had a problem. We had a short time scale, and it got shorter because Grace came early than we expected. And it was a bit of a tall order, to say the least. Rich had about 3 months to learn how to run a team, a product, execute it, market it, and run it. And it was a challenge.
It was a challenge. It was just incredible. Learning, I had 6 chefs in the kitchen. I had a front of house team of probably 12. I mean, it was just an experience. Learning how to do weekly team meetings and managing them, and it was. But we learned so much. Well, I learned so much.
You learnt so much, and you had to deal with me. I had the worst morning sickness in the world, and my triggers were alcohol and food. Of course, food establishments were. It was awful, wasn't it? We were trying our hardest. I was trying my hardest to be in front of people, but I was so ill for about 4 months. And it really pushed, didn't it? That was our first experience, I would say, of stress, pressure, feeling inside, this could go horribly wrong. But we dug deep.
We created a monster.
We did.
That pub was the best pub in the area by far. We had an amazing head chef. He was incredible. Young, wasn't he? 27 when he started as head chef for us. Just knew what he wanted. We created this bar and grill atmosphere. The bar was busy. The restaurant was packed every night. It was just such a good business. Yeah.
So it was doing well financially as well?
Well, this is where the whole mindset thing. So Nina went back to the little pub and sort of managed her team down there. I stayed at the big pub, and that's when the competition starts.
Yeah.
Because they were 2 miles apart. The Grove was established, wasn't it? It was it was the place to be until the half moon got in his way. And then everyone started coming up to the half moon, and that's when the competition starts.
It's always
So to be clear, you were competing with each other.
100%.
always.
Yeah.
Like, we'll go into some stories, but it got quite grisly.
Really?
It was hilarious. So I went into labour with Grace early. So Grace was coming early. I was interviewing a chef. It was the most horrific experience. And I just said through the pub, Rich, we need to go to hospital. And that's where I then disappeared for 19 days before I had Grace. But with me went my laptop, the printer. The nurses thought we were insane because I literally said, they can't run the pub. They weren't ready. The manager wasn't 100% solid. We were just starting to get her used to it, weren't we? That, you know, you can do this. I know you can do it. You've been with me for 6 years. You know what you're doing. You can do this for me. Incredible woman. And she's been by my side. She still is now. We call her Nanny Hev. She's incredible to our children. But at the time, it was pretty touch and go, wasn't it, in many ways? And Rich then, of course, had to deal with my team to a certain extent. Me, obviously, stressing with a laptop and a printer, and him going, can you keep all the monitors still? You know, you need to make sure the baby's okay. I couldn't leave the hospital. So I had cabin fever. You were kind of pulling your hair out, obviously, with the big pub as well. And it was just another time where we just thought, oh, God, you know, is there ever going to be an end to this kind of under pressure moment? But Grace arrived and I got home. Couldn't do much, but it was certainly challenge on. We had 2 pubs. And I was not going to be held back by the fact that I had a 4.5 pound baby.
So Nina's claim to fame is she won lots of awards.
I definitely to this day have
lots of
won
awards.
more awards.
You've won loads more awards. I made more money. That's our argument. So yeah, like one of my favourite comments was like, my head chef went down to the Grove when he was just having a look around, and he walked into the kitchen and seen their head chef, and they were like, oh, look how clean it is in here. And my chef turned around to them and said, well, it will be clean if you don't use it. Like, as in, you're not busy enough. We were doing 1,000 meals a week in the Half Moon, and yeah, I mean, they were 2 different pubs, weren't they?
They're very different pubs. You know, I came home having had Grace to all the community and support. It was just that community feel. I knew that no matter what I needed, you know, someone would be there to help. And I valued that. I valued that from the locals. I valued the whole, you know, kind of the warmth from it, you know, what that created really.
Yeah.
And that did show in our product and that showed in the business. And when people came to stay, it was very much a place where you check in on Friday, you check out on Sunday, and they have an experience. You are hosting them for the whole weekend, 6 letting rooms. And it was great, wasn't it? Whereas you were much more kind of, they come in for their 20 minutes or 2-hour meal. Bye, thank you very much. And the pubs just took on our identities really, didn't they?
Yeah.
There was myself, obviously, at the Grove with Grace. And as she got a bit bigger, obviously, we were out in the pub a little bit more with her. Had my dog Buddy.
So at this point then, you said, how much did you actually get to see each other? Were you still, you were living together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we lived at the Grove. We lived at the little pub.
Yeah.
I travelled up to the Half Moon every day to work.
And then you had the one day off together.
But this is where it didn't go wrong. And like, this is where it didn't go right even. Sorry, like, it became 7 days a week for me, didn't it?
Yeah.
Because the pub was so busy, I was working 80 hours a week. I had to be on site. I couldn't get a day off. Many times, Nina and the kids would be like, we'd book a family day out. We'd drive by the Half Moon. I'd see how busy it was and go, just drop me off. Like, I can't leave them, because it was crazy, wasn't it?
We would go places and our phones would go off so many times. That what was the point in paying £100 or a tenner, whatever the money was, to be wherever we were, because our headspace was back in our businesses. And 18 months later, we had Lottie, our second child, and then we hit lockdown. And that was a massive pivoting point for us. So we had two pubs. One of them we'd only recently sort of had, so we weren't entitled to any of the, you know, the claims that you could put in, the furlough, the bounce back loans. And we were very much suddenly overnight, 21st of March, you know, out comes the speech that stops the nation. And like many people, we had no income. I just had Lottie, so I was just sat in, it's like a throne in the living room. That's how I sort of spoke of it. And it was blind panic, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was that moment of we've got no income, we've got a tiny baby, we've got an 18-month-old who was just starting to walk. What on earth are we going to do? There's no scope for him to go back on site because there is nothing open. And we didn't know about furlough at that point. So in that first weekend, I think it really shows what sort of characters we are. I literally was just looking back. I think I probably had postnatal depression for probably about 6 weeks where it just steamrolled, didn't it? But I panicked. But that panic led to a takeaway. Before we even knew if we could do it, the Monday after Boris spoke on the Friday, we opened a takeaway. And we did it with me on the phone, my mum babysitting Grace, so helping me because obviously I was struggling. Rich was cooking.
By this time, I'd spent probably 9 months in the kitchen learning from my chef. Again, it just sort of fell into place. I said to my chef, like, the only way I'm going to manage this business, like, if I'm going to be good at this, I've got to learn to manage the kitchen. So I said, I'm going to come here and you're just going to teach me everything. And then 9 months later, I was like, oh, here we go again.
But luckily, he had his level 2, he had his level 3.
100%,
And then my dad, who, bless his heart, they were retired. They were in the nice little bungalow down in Sherborne. They moved in because they couldn't bear with not seeing the children. And we launched a takeaway. And looking back, we were made. We had more income coming in through COVID because our takeaway was so popular and we had community support. So everybody was supporting us.
The pub was actually busier closed than open. Would you believe that?
Insane.
Like we were doing 75, 80 meals an evening in takeaway boxes with just, well, the 4 of us. We
used the bedrooms for emergency staff, NHS staff that couldn't return home to families if they were shielding. We carried on like that, didn't we? But the thing it gave us, Colin, above anything, was we opened the takeaway in the evenings from 5 o'clock. It gave us daytime. We had family time for the first time ever, didn't we?
Yes and no. So in the big pub that we didn't open, you never get a chance to like renovate your kitchen because it's always busy. So we stripped all of the equipment out of that, decorated the kitchens, didn't we? Like we made improvements to the businesses, knew and we would open them up again. Whereas we had friends that had pubs that were like getting loans and buying motorbikes and like bounce back loans and motorbikes. We were using everything to plan for the reopen, weren't we?
Yeah, 100%. And we just knew that something sort of told us that reopening was actually going to be a lot worse than actually the situation that we were sat in. And we were just hoping and praying that people would still support us. But of course, we all know COVID changed the map. And we didn't know what was coming. But it gave us that time.
I mean, they all probably thought that COVID was, bad for you. And they would have thought when we got through it and everything reopened, it's like, oh, you'll be fine now.
But again, going back to mindset, all the other publicans in the area were going on like radio stations saying, oh, it's terrible. And me and Nina were going on radio stations saying, this is great. Like, we're happy. Like we're
Well, actually, I did with This Is Alfred. It's a local one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They rung me straight away. I had a really good marketing relationship with them. And I remember he rung me, bless him, and I was just in tears because all my locals used to use the pub, older generation, on their own. It was the place for them that gave them just company more than anything. Of course, I was so upset, wasn't I? And then he rung back sort of 6 weeks later saying basically, we've heard you're doing really well. This must feel great. And whilst it did, and we could keep in contact with a lot of locals that, I was missing, it just went from there, didn't it? We sort of realised there's more to life as well. But we were doing fine. We'd made something really positive out of something really negative. And we were able to help people.
But that did start the conversations of where do we go? Because like coming out of COVID, there was obviously a plan to make people comfortable coming back to the pub. And we were not sure whether we wanted to rebuild. Were we like, did we want to stay in the pub trade or did we want to do something different? And then we got pub number 3.
Yeah, so what?
So pub number 3
was a lifestyle choice.
Years before, sort of 10 years before pub number 3 came on the market, I had been on a trip an award winner's trip to Paris with the landlord and landlady of this pub. And I remember spending time with them, and I loved what they were about. I loved the pub. And I just thought, oh, one day, but they were there for 18 years. You know, the pub was never going to come up anytime soon, career publicans. And it came up, and I was at the Grove, I was upstairs, children were in bed, Rich was downstairs, and it came up, didn't it, the advert. And I ran down the stairs and said, I found it, Rich, pub number 3. We've got to go for this.
So at this point, you were still 100% pubs?
Yeah, we wanted
Because I do remember you saying that was your plan at one point, was to just open as many pubs as you could.
I wanted 10. I asked the brewery how I could get 10. That was the wasn't it? When we had the half moon and it was buzzing, I was like, right, now tell me the process of getting 10 of these.
Yeah.
But I think pub number 3 for us was more, the Amblewood was a lifestyle, wasn't it? We wanted to move down by the coast. We wanted to sort of get out of where we were. We wanted a fresh start, I guess, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. When you've both grown up in the area, rightly or wrongly, you would meet people that you knew when you were a child. You know, life moves on. And I think we both always felt there was more out there. But that almost made people at times speak negatively, didn't it?
Yeah.
You know, that negativity of, oh, you know, you're doing really well. Oh, look at you, you've got this, you've got that. And almost being embarrassed of your success. I think that's how we sort of felt at some points. So the Amblewood represented for us an opportunity, a fresh start. We had our 2 young children where we could move to the Amblewood. We could be near the coast, which I wanted for the children. I love the beach, still do. And we felt it was the right time.
Yeah.
We felt the teams could sustain themselves to a point, and we felt taking on a 3rd team that was established, they would be very welcoming.
But I think we knew we were going to get rid of the other 2 eventually. So we ran 3. I don't think pub 3 was a progression. I think it was like a lifestyle change and get to a different area. We knew we were going to get rid of the other ones.
So at what point did the dream of 10?
In that COVID, it was sat at the dinner table at COVID with Nina's mum and dad, and we'd be sat there thinking, like, is it worth it? Is the 80 hours a week worth the returns?
So when you got the 3rd, it wasn't on your way to 10. It was I
think the 3rd
it was to consolidate into the one that you'd keep and you'd get rid of the existing 2.
I think we come to the conclusion, like, staff costs were high, so one pub run well is probably better than 5 run average, because like staff do take the mickey a little bit. You've got to be on site managing them, haven't you? So I think by that time it was like we were sat round in COVID around that dinner table thinking, like, is it worth it? Is the return on investment worth it? We were buying property anyway, so when we had the half moon, we were just doing it the hard way, weren't we? We were saving 50 grand, putting a deposit down, like forgetting it, and then move to the next.
Yeah.
We did a BRR without knowing we did a BRR because we didn't know what it was.
What is a BRR? Because remember, people watching don't necessarily know.
Yeah, so we bought a rundown property. Again, it was just a property we found. It wasn't like there was no strategy to it. We just bought a rundown property.
But did you think that being in a poor condition, you'd be able to raise the value? Were you thinking like that?
No, it didn't enter our heads.
I think we just bought a terrible property, but it worked out well.
We went through a phase of thinking, you know, the backup plan. We were quite aware at that point that after COVID, that there had to be a backup plan. And it was a 3-bedroom property, terraced in Shaftesbury, and it represented somewhere that if we had to, we would be able as a family to have a roof over our heads. We were craving a bit of security. For me, I'd been on the road for, probably 10, 15 years with pubs. So I've been in pub accommodation. I've been living that lifestyle. I did live in a house for about 12 months, but Rich got rid of it because he told me that it was financially
a
waste of time, a terrible investment because it was rented. So we ended up back in the pub, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
So at that point, it was kind of, we bought a house that then needed a new bathroom. It needed a new roof. So the buy, refurbish, refinance wasn't a term that we were familiar with. We just bought it and then went,
we didn't know it needed leaks. We didn't know it needed a new roof, did we?
Then it was
just, it needs a new roof.
But we were well positioned though, weren't we?
Yeah.
With our workmen in the pubs.
Yeah.
So again, it helped.
Okay, so you got all the,
100%.
I got a roof completely stripped and redone for £3,000 on a 3-bed terraced house. Just people sat in the pub. Yeah.
So it gave us contact. So I don't look back on that period and go, I don't think of it negatively. I think of it that it brought yourself out of yourself, didn't it? You were no longer a digger driver. You were able to communicate. You were able to be in kind of with people you don't necessarily like, but you have to host. It took the stage off of me a bit, which really helped. Obviously, then it gave me time with the children to bring them up. But we wanted a lifestyle, and that's what the Amberwood was. That was our final pub.
Yeah.
But even when we arrived at the Amberwood and we started to operate the Amberwood, it wasn't harmonious, was it?
No, I think our love for pubs was gone. I think it was like a means to get in the right area so we could do something else. But I think our love for pub had gone, hadn't it really?
Yeah. 100%.
I remember conversations. We were renovating the Amberwood, so we were going to spend 100 grand of our own money renovating someone else's pub, our business, but renovating someone else's pub. And our accountant said to us, if you're not going to stay 5 years, don't do it. You're not going to see your return for 5 years. And I looked at Nina and was like, I don't think we're going to stay 5 years. And she was like, no, but what are we going to do then? And we ended up spending the money, and we stayed 3.5 years. We lost money, but I mean, we just fell out of love with it, didn't we? We
fell out of love with it, and we knew there was better out there. We both like property, so we'd accumulated a couple of flats and a house. But again, this buy-to-let strategy just felt, wasn't it? It's like a cog.
Such a long
we've
process.
made it, and then you do it, and then you go through the legals, and then it's like, oh, we've done another one.
Right. So
and
just to be clear, you were doing it like the old way, saving up
100%.
a deposit, then buying a house. And renting out as a single let. Even though you had hospitality experience.
Didn't know anything about service accommodation. Didn't know anything about HMOs. Like really naive, weren't we? Just
and nothing about like BRR.
No.
Which is buy, refurbish, rent, refinance.
Yeah, didn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
Creative finance meant nothing to us.
No.
Investors, we all know. You hear the term investors, but never in a million years thought that would apply to us. By that point, isolation had kicked in for me because I've got the children full time. So I'm no longer in front of locals. I'm no longer in front of a team. Friction begins when, we're back to one pub in the sense of we're living there and we're working there. There's a team that, was fractured, and it all began to kind of bubble. And we just felt there had to be another way, didn't we?
Well, it all sort of come to a head, didn't it, when I left the Amberwood and went to Willingham to manage that for Samuel.
Yeah.
Didn't it? And the team at the Amberwood just sort of, again, we just lost love with it. But
so tell us about that. So at some point before this, you must have met Samuel and joined the academy.
Yeah. So when was that? That was in COVID times as well, wasn't it? When the pubs were shut, I was sat watching Samuel on YouTube, and Nina come in and said, "Who is that annoying bloke on the telly?" And
Honestly,
I said,
Colin,
just sit and listen to it for a minute. Just sit and listen.
I think you need to rewind. This was after about 8 weeks of it.
Okay.
Constantly. There's me going, can we just watch some dribble? And he's like, no,
I was just
I'm
soaking
watching
up all this information, like
constant
service accommodation, BRR, and I'm like, wow.
And I was not sold. I was literally like, can you stop? Just stop. I didn't know what the answer was, and I knew what we were currently in wasn't right. But for me, my doors were not open at all to accepting anything else. This was what I'd learned. I'd learned hospitality. I'd been in it since 16.
Yeah.
Before that I grew up on a farm. So again, we were dictated to by the seasons, by, my father's employment. I had a mindset that was just this roller coaster in a cog, wasn't it? Constant. And I wasn't affected by it, really. I was quite sort of, this is all right. If I keep going, my head was telling me, if I keep going, I'll get there. But of course, Rich then introducing this annoying chap on the TV was like, what? You're asking my brain to now think outside the box. And I was not convinced, was I?
But about 20 minutes after watching it, we had booked a crash course ticket. Like we just sat and watched it, didn't we? And
I was still not overly convinced.
But we said on our winners, like, the thing, we booked that crash course ticket, and we were like all the way there thinking Samuel's not going to be there. Like, he's not going to be there. And when he turned up, we were like, oh, actually, he is there. And
but I was then, it's too happy clappy. This was then my opinion. So I went from, no, not for me, not open, to then happy clappy, oh, I don't fit in that box. To then going, there was everybody in one room, that every walk of life. And that to me, again, I was still very much of a mindset that was, I've got nothing in common with them. Don't know who they are.
That's interesting.
And I was so closed book, wasn't I? I'd gone from someone that could be on stage performing, if you like, in a pub, which I'd done for many years, being the landlady, you know, it was great. I thoroughly loved it, to suddenly now in a room, I couldn't speak. You couldn't either, could you?
We were just exhausted.
Overwhelmed.
We were literally exhausted. I think Samuel commented a few times how tired we looked. We'd always sit in exactly the same place. Like literally just said that.
Well, we sat in the same place because then we signed up for the rent serviced accommodation.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a carrot, what I think Rich planned, in the sense of the serviced accommodation was very similar. It's a strategy that's very similar to hosting hotel guests. And we thought, well, maybe that could be our way in. And the course was £3,000. So we thought, let's just do it. And the 4 days we'd left the children. I'd never left the girls before. The 4 nights, by sort of night 2, I was struggling. It was, again, a battle, wasn't it? It was that mindset where I didn't know how to speak to anybody. Make a fool of myself, make a phone call, you got to be joking. It just felt awkward, didn't it?
Yeah.
And he then obviously advertised, was saying to us about the academy, and I was like, no way. You know, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, £12,000, we were going, I've never spent that. I've never had it to spend. If we have, we've just put it in property, hadn't we?
Yeah.
And obviously it's that, right, you're going to go for it, you're not going to go for it. And Rich was like, let's go for it.
Put it as a business expense for the pub. A training course.
And I just remember this feeling of, oh God, we've done it now.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? And I still wasn't convinced. I just thought, oh my gosh. And we probably spent the next 12 months literally around negativity, apart from the academy. You know, negativity that, oh, you're not going to make it. Oh, the pubs, you need to get your head down. You need to focus. You know, you're good at what you do when you focus. And we were just like, but it's not right.
Yeah.
I don't know though.
So you told people that you joined the academy and they were negative about it?
Yeah.
100% were negative. We really had to stay strong, didn't we?
I felt like when we used to have these conversations, when we drove to Heathrow, you're so positive in the room and it's such a good environment, but all the way home from London, you could feel it draining out of you until you got back to our staff. We had 85 staff members by then. Like, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
3 still.
And then it was just like you could feel the life draining out of you. And that's when the decision was made. We need to transition into property.
We made a decision, but we then, giving notice and giving back those businesses and walking away after you do your 6 months notice, that wasn't the part that was difficult. The part was kept reminding ourselves why we were doing it. We knew that there was a better end goal that was out there, and we didn't have to be surrounded by the negativity.
Yeah.
You know, it can happen if you work hard, but working hard and working smart are very different concepts. And slowly, after we did all the live training, we started to come out of ourselves, didn't we? We started to realise that we can do this.
Yeah. We got 7 service accommodations in the first year. We bought our first deal though, didn't we? Again, had no time. We had pubs, so we were working. We bought our first deal just to get us started, and then after that, it just snowballed, didn't it?
But just the idea that you can buy a deal, most people don't even realise that that's a thing.
Yeah, no. It was,
I felt like we were just pinching ourselves. But looking back now, we've come so far.
It's crazy, and we had this conversation just on the way to the airport. Like when we joined the academy and seeing like all the people up on stage, like almost in awe of them, and now we are those people. It's weird, isn't it? It's like so crazy.
I think the craziest thing is you sit there and you say about doing your winners on a Wednesday, which you can film within the academy once you reach a certain level of success. And then the next level is the High Flyers Club. Again, it's another addition to the academy that you can do once you reach a certain level of success. And the thing that we sort of found at every stage was, this is working, we've trusted. But it took a long time to unlock that fear that was in us. And it was fear. So again, becoming financially free and getting rid of the last pub, we were terrified, absolutely terrified. We had to move home physically. We had to find somewhere to live physically. I hadn't lived in a house in years. Like even the concept of living in a house where there's no exterior noise that's related to your business. It sounds like something so simple, but hand dryers and live music and general chatting. You can be watching your television and then you're put on edge because who's near your family, what's happening, what's going on. And you've got no control of that if you're not working. And it's just a totally different lifestyle. But it opened up doors massively for us once we became accepting of communication again, friendships, like-minded people, the power of community, the power of all going in one direction, even though you're all from completely different walks of life. And then we started to get excited. But it took 2 years to get excited, I would say. 100%.
Yeah. Interesting. 2 years on the academy before you started to get excited.
Because although we were seeing results and we were going through a process, it wasn't easy, was it?
We're really
making the mindset shift, and because you were very much, your other businesses were very much dependent on you.
We still had the noise of those businesses.
We're really hard on ourselves as well. Like nothing's like, I don't know if it's a good trait or a bad trait. I really don't know. But nothing's ever good enough. Like, it has to be better. We're always thinking, how can it be better? Like, what we're doing now, even though we're doing loads, is it enough? We're always thinking about how can we get to the next stage? Like, sometimes we do have the conversation like, do we actually enjoy the journey? Or, do you know what I mean? Like, when is enough enough? That's a conversation we have a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
When do you stop and like think, actually, I'm just going to enjoy myself now? And I don't know if that is on our, like, I don't think that's even relevant.
That's the thing of being driven though, isn't it? But
you say, when do we stop and enjoy ourselves? Maybe keeping going is the only thing that you will enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, it's a conversation we have a lot.
Well, it's getting used to not having the answer as well. And I think that's been so with the pubs, for instance, I knew the answers. I knew the inside out answers of what would work and what business structure would work and how we would execute it. All of that had gone, hadn't it?
Yeah.
So by that point,
because you had a plan, you had a vision.
Yeah.
And that was sort of taken away from you and replaced with something new that was new to you and you didn't really have the years and years of experience with.
Yeah.
That must have been,
I built the Grove up myself to then be doing it as a partnership with the property aspect, more so, where we're building a property business and you're building it with your partner. It doesn't come without challenge, and it's learning to manage those challenges as well. It's certainly been a lot of challenges over the last sort of 3 years.
Definitely.
But it really did take two years, I would say, for the mindset to really kind of switch. But then once it switched, something I never foresaw ever coming towards us was then the opposite. You feel quite isolated because those around you are still as they were.
Yeah.
And still raising the questions that they've done all along. And our mindset shift, we know where we're going and we will get there 100%. But there are still people now that cross our paths that listen, but still go, yeah, you sure about that? We'll see. And that wording around us just changes, doesn't it? We'll see. And you know that even if they don't say it, they're thinking it.
Yeah.
And you've just got to power through. You've either got to remove yourself from the situation or you just got to listen to it and let it just be like a ping pong ball, bounce off you.
It's something that I've found myself saying in the last few episodes. So I'm going to make it a catchphrase that I say in every episode, is that we're not like other people.
No. There's
something different about. Yeah. And that is the self-unemployed mindset.
100%.
So then you went, you mentioned Willingham House.
Yeah.
So this is about the time you got that offer?
Yeah, so that come from, again, ACPM.
So hang on, remember people are not on the academy.
Of course, yeah.
So Willingham House is a hotel that Samuel Leeds owns.
Yeah.
And he asked Rich to go and manage it for him, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we, again, ACPP, where you go and meet Samuel.
One of the training courses.
Yeah, when you go meet him, like in person. And he asked you to stand up and do a speech and say what you've done. And because me and Nina were so quiet, we didn't really say anything. We did our speech, and we'd been quite successful. And he said, "How do I not know about you two? Like, where have you been hiding?" And again, we were just quiet, weren't we? Beavering away in the background.
Well, you were so busy, probably. You
Exactly,
didn't speak out on the mastermind calls. And
2 small children,
yeah,
hiding away, just quietly. We wanted to just grow ourselves. And this is where we were starting to find the next challenge, was that the concept of kind of working with other people came towards us, and opportunities that were bigger than we'd ever really considered. And that's where Willingham came in, wasn't it?
Well, at the time, our speech was like, our pubs were turning over like 2.5 million. And then Samuel was like, "Oh, like, this is interesting." So the next day we get a phone call offering like Willingham. And then we did our winners on a Wednesday, didn't we? Shortly after that, talking about obviously our successes. And then we really got involved with Willingham then, didn't we? And we filmed the eviction, the property show.
and that was when I met you.
Yeah, it was,
because
wasn't it?
I'd first met you like a week before.
Yeah.
At your pub, where we came for an inner circle networking event.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then the next week, I was at the Willingham House for the filming of the eviction.
Yes.
Not I wasn't part of it, but there was.
You could come and stay in the hotel.
Well, What it was, there was the networking event that was part of the thing, and I went to go to the networking event. But also on that day, they just launched Samuel Social, which is Samuel Leeds' social media platform, which is just for the academy. And he was trying to get people to use it. And he said, "Okay, the first 20 people to post something, I'll give them a guided tour of my new hotel."
That's it.
So I was like, okay, I did that.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, and I'm going to go for the night. No, I'm going to go for the event in the evening. So I'll just book a night there as well. And I turned up, checked myself in, and then I think I saw you.
Yeah, that's it.
But we'd message each other as well. And
I think so,
But yeah, so I met you both completely separately.
Yeah, we were separate.
Which is how life had been.
Yeah, 6 months. I lived in Cambridge, Nina was in Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Again, and I don't know if many people would do that. But if there's an opportunity, we just don't turn them down, do we? And I think that's what Samuel liked about us, was like the offer was on the table and we were like, yep, we'll do that. Like, it wasn't even a, should we go think about it?
I find that for me, the academy does present you with opportunities like
100%.
that.
Yeah,
like for
100%.
me, it was the opportunity to do public speaking, and then there was the boxing. In fact, it was that day, or no, it had been shortly before that. I messaged Samuel about the podcast, about starting a podcast, and it was that day I saw Samuel, and we talked about getting him on. That was sort of the beginning of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, Willingham was great. It was an opportunity, and again, it really pushed us outside comfort zone.
It's when we got known, wasn't it? It's when we got known in the academy then.
Yeah, and socially we got known, and it was just such an incredible project, and still is an incredible project.
Yeah.
But as time went on, we in our hearts knew that to really maximise that project was going to mean relocating, which we were prepared to do. But of course, back in Dorset, I wasn't going to stand still while Rich was in Cambridge. We were still pushing on with projects. We still had our serviced accommodation units. We still had, obviously, the children to think of and our pub. And we were sort of, when push comes to shove, I just think we've got something really good on the South Coast. And we sort of said to each other, look, this is a really tough call now. What do we do?
We were actually selling everything up though. We sold a lot of our deals.
Yeah.
We were ready to move, but there was just something that we just couldn't go.
There
was just something in our gut feeling that said like Cambridge is not the place we need to be living.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Which was tough because we wanted it to be that.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
We desperately wanted it to be our home. We wanted to put down roots there, but there was just this gut instinct that the South Coast had something that we still needed to explore. So we sort of discussed it, and we thought, look, when you come home, we've got to go big now. We've got to make this change. It's going to happen, and that meant getting rid of the final pub.
Yep.
And that's what we set about doing. Again, head down. Let's just quietly get ourselves into a financial position.
So were you still, you'd left Willingham and you still had the pub?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went back to the pub. We still had the pub. Yeah, I went back to the pub. I started working in the pub again. I know, crazy. Back full circle. But we knew we were going to get rid of it. We knew it was going.
Yeah.
But it was painful.
Yeah.
Every day was painful because Rich felt like he'd gone backwards. We felt like as a partnership, because we'd got rid of quite a few of our SA units, that we'd gone back as a
took a step back. Yeah.
company. The team had to get used to having Rich back again.
Yeah.
They'd had Rich's management, then Rich.
But you knew it was coming to an end, though. It wasn't like you'd come back to wrap it up, right?
Wrap it up, but yeah, again, we're very much like it still needs to be perfect until the end. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like we're just gonna like throw it away. We still served in that pub right the way to the very last day. Literally.
So then did it get taken over by other people? Is it?
Yeah.
So it didn't close or anything?
No, so it's reopened.
I think it closed for like one day. Just to like stock take, and then they bought the stock off us.
And did they take on all the staff?
Yeah, all the staff stayed. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, pubs well, we haven't been back in. I've never been back in any of the pubs. I've never been back in the Grove. I've never been back in the Half Moon. I've never been back in the Amberwood.
It must be.
Been back. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I drive by them a lot, but I just can't bring myself to go in them.
I wonder if that's common among.
I don't know. Well, no, I don't think it is, because the people we took over the Amberwood from, they still come in 4 times a week. They were literally tidying the furniture up, like puffing the cushions up. We were like, okay, carry on.
But we didn't drink. We weren't drinkers.
No.
So in our younger years, 2 of the biggest drinkers around, Life and Soul of the Party, both of us. Yeah. But as we've got older, we realised that kind of lifestyle only brings, again, negativity.
I think, again, that's a mindset thing as well, isn't it? Like, we purposely give up drinking because, like couples that run pubs generally end up getting divorced because the alcohol takes over one of them. So you
watch it in front of you. You watch the financial aspect, the pressure it then puts on the family, and you watch the mindset of those that are sat at the bar. It's not a terribly positive all round, really. And we got to the point where we sort of found bar shifts boring. These people weren't stimulating to talk to. These people weren't where we wanted to be. This wasn't around people. So it became really hard, didn't it? Our last sort of 9 months in hospitality, from that aspect, service accommodation is different, but from that aspect was really hard, wasn't it? Yeah. Because we felt like we were ostracised because we had nothing in common with them. Because the mindset has shifted so much that we no longer fitted in that community. And that's why I feel like we can't really go back in as such. I don't know what I would have. Don't get me wrong, the workmen are great, and we work with some of those moving forwards, and I cannot fault them as people, but there is a certain percentage of the clientele in there. We just had nothing in common. They almost frowned upon the fact that Rich had dared to go and try and make something of Willingham.
It's that thing, though, isn't it? Like we talked about today, you're almost ostracised in the UK for being successful, aren't you? That's the thing. People see success and they just want to drag you down all the time. Yeah. And that was how it felt, wasn't it? We were trying to better ourselves, but everyone tries to drag you down all the time.
It's the crabs in the bucket.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So by the time we got to the end of our notice at the pub, we were 100% done. But even then, we couldn't hand back something that wasn't in the pristine condition that we took it on. Yeah. And the painting and the man hours of clearing, and my mum and dad, bless their heart, were painting and tidying and hoovering and sorting our flat. And again, we were just trying to push on forwards with our property projects, but we still had to sort this pub out. And it was a team effort again, wasn't it? A
lot of it's integrity as well, because we spoke to the, not the accountant, it was more like our area managers, wasn't it? Yeah. About the 2 businesses, the first 2 pubs, the businesses were still open and they had bounce back loans in them. And basically, what they were saying is just dissolve the companies and don't pay back the bounce back loans. But we've always operated, we always do the right thing. We paid back all those bounce back loans. We traded the pub to pay back those loans, then we shut the companies. We've always operated on integrity, haven't we? Everything we've done, we've always thought we just always try to do the right thing. even sometimes to our detriment, really.
100% to our detriment. But at least we can sleep easy at night, knowing that whatever we have achieved or what will be coming, in the next year or two, at least we've achieved it with a clear conscience. At least.
And we are sat in Dubai.
We are sat in Dubai. I mean,
I don't think we mentioned that yet.
I don't think we have.
Dubai.
Yeah.
I mean, who would ever have thought that? But we got to that point where when we handed the keys back on that morning, it was just unbelievable, wasn't it? We walked away and there was just this inner peace that I've never felt. You feel many things, like when you have children and when you get the next start, you do this, that you do. And it's just calm. That's the only thing I can describe it as. Was calm. We had normality, defined normality, but we had a lifestyle that felt more realistic for us. We had time with the children. However, we just threw all of that time into property, but the children could come with us. They could be with us.
Well, it's stupid little things, like we moved into a 4-bedroom house and we had a garden. The kids have never had a garden because it was always like a beer garden,
like a car park,
and the kids, like, we were having water fights at the weekends, weren't we? Because we moved in summer. It was just like, oh,
the girls learnt to ride their bikes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like massive, for the girls to be independent. And able to come in and out the house freely, to be safe in the garden. Again, you don't get that in a pub. And of course, the girls were starting to become the age where they would venture out and they would happily go downstairs. We just started to let them kind of wander down, because obviously the team were down there and they would go and have a chat to, the young girls. Grace particularly loved, chatting to the 16-year-old waitresses. I think she saw them as big sisters, sort of thing. But that's not positive. It's positive because the girls were absolutely cracking girls, but for them moving forwards, we knew something had to change. And suddenly they've got this garden where they can just build wormeries and play on their bikes, and the mud kitchen and the swings. And it was a massive thing for mum and dad. Got them their swings, and they had a swing seat that they'd never been able to unwrap. And it's the size for dollies now. It was clearly made for when they were 2 or 3. But of course the girls were 6 and 4. So a couple of years late, but it was just that inner calm, wasn't it?
I think the thing I got told a lot of the time was, like, everyone thought I was going to miss the pub because I'm quite hyperactive. Like, I would be running around the restaurant, wouldn't I? I'd be like, literally, I'm like all the time, like a Duracell bunny, all the time, constantly moving. And everyone's like, you're not going to cope without a pub. Like, you need to be doing something. And it hasn't been like that at all, was it? Like, God, no.
But you have got, super obsessed with, you said you shifted that focus to property, right?
100%.
Yeah, we done
So what have you done since? Because I don't really. I know that you've. I don't know much about how you got to where you are. I know what you're doing now.
Serviced accommodation is how it started.
Yeah.
And we scaled massively.
Yeah.
Then that was our own personal portfolio. Then we had.
Was so you bought more properties or rent to rent?
Rent to rent. So we rent the properties, give the landlord a set rent, and then we put them on. We advertise on Airbnb, but we use connections that we've obviously made with local businesses to actually fill those bedrooms. So we grew that. Then we went into that same concept, but as management, and that's in Bournemouth and Southampton. And we scaled that up to 23 units. And then we had a rent to HMO. So again, we got involved with letting properties room by room, but on tenancies or excluded licenses. And then we got an investor. So we did our winners on a Wednesday, which is something that Samuel does, where you film it with Samuel at the house, historically.
Another podcast, isn't it?
Another podcast, effectively. And this chap contacted us from Singapore.
Yep.
And the gremlins arrived in my head again. So we've gone all this time with no gremlins, hadn't we? And we're like, success, like it's coming. But in the back of our head, it was all, we were safe if we just worked with ourselves in our head. It's our money. It's just us two.
Yeah.
Because, our destiny had been dictated by staff for so long. Again, this was a whole new thing, wasn't it? And I said to Rich, again, scam. Singapore, scam. Online contacting us, scam. Don't be silly. It's got a very English name. And I was like, definitely a scam. You've got to be joking. The back and forth came, didn't it?
Yeah.
And then he said, I'm going to fly into London and going to come down to Southampton. And we were still like, nah. And then it was, oh, this is happening. And the similarities, he's, a married gentleman with 2 children the same age as ours. We just mirror each other. We're 2 families that are worlds apart mileage, but with the same goal. And we met him, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I can't believe it, Colin. Honestly, we showed him around Southampton. Now, Southampton is a city that's not very aesthetically pleasing, shall we say. There's no real landmarks or anything, is there?
No.
So we effectively drove around a wet, cold Southampton, and we didn't even manage to get lunch because the restaurant that had been chosen just was in disarray, wasn't it? So we came away from that thinking, oh, okay, well, absolute amazing experience. Really liked the chap, so positive, but we just didn't feel like, why would he be interested? We've shown him at a wet, cold Southampton. Like, maybe this isn't going to be. And it was, again, this roller coaster. So you're building up like this resilience, aren't you? This inner resilience to keep positive. And then the phone call came. Start looking for a project.
Yeah.
Right.
He said, if I give you 165 grand, he said, if I give you 165 grand today, what would you do? And we was like, well, we convert something into HMO. And he said, go and find it then. And we did.
Nice.
Yeah, so we've done that. We've just converted an old Thai restaurant with uppers into an 8-bed, all-ensuite HMO in Weymouth. We're just refinancing now, so that's going to be all money out. So he gets his money back. We 50-50 own the building, and we're looking for the next one.
But
So have you got a separate company
Yeah.
with him as a director?
So the company's
shareholder?
actually called 6 Bond Street. The property's called 6 Bond Street.
Right.
Yeah, so 50-50 shares, aren't we? Yeah, incredible.
And that was just another challenge.
So that was all his money?
All his
Yeah.
money. He put
Yeah.
in 165 grand, so he paid the deposit and the refurb.
And you just found it, organised it, did the
Found
work?
it, managed it, didn't even do the work. Like, we paid a build team to do the
Yeah.
work. Yeah.
Organised the work.
Overseas.
Yeah.
Overseas.
And now you got half a house, or half the equity of the
Half a house. So
Or-
we bought it for 400,000. It's just being refinanced at the moment for 650,000.
Nice.
We spent around 55 grand on
So
it.
it's all money out as
All
well.
money out. All money out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So he's
suddenly-
getting all his money back.
Yeah.
So it hasn't cost you anything. It hasn't cost him anything because
No.
he's got it all back.
No.
And so you're both ending up with free house.
We've got to put a little bit of time into it because
Yeah.
with our letting agency, we manage it.
Yeah.
So we've got to put a bit of time into it. But yeah, it cash flows around about, it's going to cash flow. We've got 1 room left to fill, haven't we, at the moment?
Yeah.
But it's going to cash flow profit just under 4 grand. So 2 grand a month each for a property that no one's put any money into now.
It's amazing.
That's amazing.
It was an eye-opener, wasn't
Yeah.
it? And it really was another challenge for us to trust in someone. It was a pressure because obviously it's his money and we took that seriously. We do take it seriously, we still do.
Yeah.
And that caused sleepless nights because you're worried. If it's your own money to a certain extent, what happens.
Yeah.
But when it's someone else's money, oh my goodness me, we don't owe anybody anything. It's that real, if we've got something, we pay it. We'd rather pay our way,
Yeah.
And we just felt this burning pressure throughout the whole process, didn't we?
It's been
had
quite
to be right.
stressful. I wouldn't say it's been easy. Like issues of planning and like having to phone up someone who's so wealthy and explain to him like why it's not finished this week or why. But he's been really understanding. We were a little bit late on completion, but I mean, yeah, it's just, I don't know.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And the lessons you learn from liaising with somebody of that nature. They've clearly accumulated their wealth through many different streams, which he has. And just to be able to speak to somebody on that level that understands. And when there has been challenges, we've had sensible discussions. I don't know what we were expecting, but I was used to liaising across a bar with workmen. Now, having sensible conversations sometimes were a challenge. When you're liaising with an investor of that level, they were sensible conversations, weren't they? Reasonable solutions were found and everyone shared the pain. And again, it was just something we weren't used to, were we?
Yeah.
But it's allowed us with then the BRR project, BRRs to HMO, we then, on top of that, got the letting agency Elite.
Yeah, so this is what we haven't
Yeah.
talked about. You mentioned that you got a letting agency. So how did this come about?
While Rich was in Willingham, I obviously spent a lot of time on the South Coast with a couple of other Academy members, and that's Claire and Katerina. And, you know, you're three girls kind of doing your thing, aren't you, really? Katerina's partner doesn't work in property. Claire's was away. You were away. And we kind of were a support network for each other, really, on the South Coast, just trying to do our thing, all with a shared vision, all with the same goal, all going on our individual paths. We've never joint ventured with either of them. But we were just really driven to really want to push forwards. And Claire was coming to the end of her, you know, business kind of passion for Elite.
Yeah.
And it was her time to move on. And she was intended to sell Elite anyway.
Yeah, I remember,
And
because I knew Claire, we joined about the same time, and we went through some of the 4-day trainings together.
yeah,
And I remember her umming and ahhing about what she's going to do with her business. And
yeah.
She had an offer from a high street brand to purchase it. And
We knew that was on the table, and I established over the summer months while Richard was still in Willingham that I loved it. I could see obviously the day-to-day running, so Claire would be at the Amblewood with me, she'd be making calls, she'd be doing her day-to-day job effectively. And then when Rich come home, I was like, oh, I really think that's something that we could be really good at. I think that's liaising with landlords, it's working with tenants, it's got all the right ingredients to be another project for us to enhance our property portfolio. And we approached the question. The deal was done, and we took Elite over in May, 1st of May 2025. We took Elite over, and it was terrifying because we'd never, having to then effectively managing a portfolio of 90 properties for other landlords. The pressure on it, I felt daunted by initially, whereas now they're lovely. They're fantastic people. Some of them are old school landlords. Some of them are portfolio. Some of them are incredibly fed up. Some of them are embracing, you know, the changes in the UK and pushing forwards. But for us, it was just a massive positive, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
And I got to be social again. For me, that was really important.
And it brings an income that replaced the pub. And we just allowed us to be in the right space.
Yeah.
In the property space rather than the pub space. So talking to landlords again, talking to investors, talking to people that want to buy, people that want to sell, people that want to rent. Like we're back in the right area again, back in the right space. Yeah.
And it worked. It made sense for Claire to move on to her other projects.
Yeah.
It was just the timing. And again, that was that community. It was the community that we'd formed.
So, and it's also kind of a much more scalable business model than running pubs, right? Because
100%.
It's a lot more profitable than running pubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
100%. And again, you're in property. Yes, there's, you know, obviously the renters reform that's coming up. Nobody has a crystal ball. Of course not. There's always an element of risk, but it certainly feels like a much more profitable, a much more positive environment to be in. It still has challenges. Property always has challenges, whether it's plumbing, roofs, boilers, tenants, legal regulations, AML, whatever the topic, there's always a challenge, and every day is different. But if you enjoy it, you enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that, again, the word enjoyment sort of came back into the house. Hadn't seen that for a while, had we?
No, God, no.
Yeah. So we've all come out for a week in Dubai.
Yeah.
But presumably when you were running the pubs, you wouldn't have been able to do that.
Never.
No, we never went on holiday. We literally didn't go on holiday. We didn't even get charged. Like I said earlier, even cinema trips we weren't able to do. Anything. I had to be at work.
And we booked a cinema trip for Peppa Pig for our youngest. And I think Rich was secretly quite pleased he didn't get to come. My mum had to come instead.
Yeah.
However, it wasn't the point. It was starting to have major effect, but we would not be here, Colin, if we were still in pubs.
Yeah.
Never in a million years. We wouldn't even be able to function in this environment. I mean, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Amazing. Well, so what's next? Where are you? What's
So I think for us this year, obviously, we're still getting used to not having the pubs. I think we're still getting used to that. We're consolidating everything we've got, tying up loose ends, and then heavily we're starting to look into lease options a lot because there's a lot of landlords out there that just are in negative equity. Maybe they bought in the little bubble when COVID was on, or there's a lot of tired landlords that want out.
But again, it's the landlords like that with the lease options. There's so many landlords out there that don't realise that's an option.
Yeah.
You know, they don't realise that we can happily help them for £1, pay them a rent, get our solicitor to legally draw up the agreements, and we literally take control of their property and pay for it in 5 years at the price they want. And so many landlords go, you'll pay that? Yeah, absolutely. We're not going to argue about the purchase price. We'll pay you in 5 years. You get all of the hassle, whatever you're paying.
Plus the rent in the meantime.
Plus the rent.
And the rent will be an amount that covers their obligations that they're worried about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If there's a remedial, such as, I don't know, a window breaks, etc., we will do that. Anything that needs upkeep in between. And so many landlords just don't realise that option's out there. We're getting quite excited about this, aren't we?
And I think we're looking for more investors as well, aren't we? That's a big thing. I think we've proven it works. We've got an overseas investor. We've got a project. We've proved it works. Now we're looking for other investors that have got money that want to do the same thing. Because I think now you've proved it, you can do multiple projects at the same time now. It doesn't have to be one at a time.
So if anyone's watching this and they want to get in touch and to invest in you, how do they get in touch?
So on our Instagram, I guess, would be the best thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Rich_Nina24.
Yeah.
Of course, and reach out, DM us, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
But for us, again, it represents the next stage. It's confidence. I think the confidence has come now. And working with more people is exciting. You know, our current investor, as Rich said, invested a lot of money. That's more money than I ever thought possible. We're terrified of that sum of money, weren't we?
Yeah.
Whereas now we just feel sort of baited. We feel sort of, oh, what's next? Exciting, some bigger projects. Equally, you know, looking for those that just want fixed terms, fixed returns.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day.
Like to lend you the money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just
lend X amount
15,
over X amount and get
yeah,
X amount back.
But also we do like giving back as well. So if anyone just wants help, right, we'll talk to anybody. Like we literally, we will book time to meet up with people. We just want to help people. We want to help people on their journeys too. It's not, we're coaches on the academy as well, aren't we? Like, we love the giving back. We love, like we've got to a stage, we're comfortable. Obviously we're going to do bigger and better things, but we're comfortable. And I think now is the time where we do spend a lot of time giving back to people. Like always on the phone talking to people. Like,
That's what's been an absolute honour. And obviously you're aware of the coaching, Colin. And for us to be able to coach, we're still competitive with that though. So Rich will have a group of 11, I'll have a group of 11, and we'll reconvene at the end of the days and I'll be going, how are your 11 doing?
How much money is your lot made?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Have you got any deals yet? Like,
I'm in the kitchen, Rich is in the lounge, and it really, again, it's just that, it's so fulfilling. We
but
get
even
to the
that
end
sounds crazy, doesn't it? Like we're both sat at home coaching from our house. It's just,
you have to pinch yourself.
You do. You have to pinch yourself. Yeah.
But
The journey we've been on is crazy.
I love seeing their journey in 4 days.
Again, and also, I find when you start giving back to people, it helps you as well. When we're coaching, I'm finding like my mindset changes because I'm thinking like, hang on, I'm just telling all these people how to be successful. And I haven't done that for a while. So I end up phoning landlords that I know, or I end up looking for a rent to rent or a BRR. And before you know it, I've got as many deals as they have. And then me and Nina are in competition then. Like, how many deals have you found? Like, it's like we come out of it with more deals ourselves. So I think the more you help, teach, like learn, like it's just a massive spiral upwards.
It's just a byproduct, isn't it, of doing that coaching, which just gives you that push and that lift. Just the feeling of seeing them all really nervous. Day 2, you kind of get a feel for who's really bought into this and who hasn't, and who needs a little bit more attention, or who needs a bit more, you know, kind of persuasion almost, that just believe in the project. And then you get to sort of the 3rd day and they start to find their wings. And on the 4th day, they're just pinging with it. And I love seeing it, and it just re-energizes. I don't need to be given energy or drive, not at all. And that's certainly not what it gives me, but it certainly gives me that, that warm, fuzzy feeling. Because what else? What are the goals financially? Just keep going. We don't really have a financial goal. That will always keep rolling. So there's not a figure on it, really.
The thing I like about the coaching as well, Samuel gives you the opportunity to tell him how it is. Like, as in, he wants
Well, that's kind of part of the culture of the academy.
Exactly. So one guy I had the other day, he was sat in his car outside a letting agency, going to go in, and he was just like, I'm not going in yet, Rich, it's raining. And I was like, mate, do you want to be like warm and poor, or do you want to be wet and rich? Get out of your car and start walking. He was just like, jeez. Like, jeez.
I had it with, I was doing something with one of the groups I had that they were all like very casual and they were in their kind of hoodies and this, that and the other. And I was just having a conversation about etiquette, and I don't even know how we sort of came onto it, but I ended up at one point sat there with pigtails going, would you invest in me? And they were looking at me going, you're crazy, but it's true, isn't it? If you were to first meet me, your impression would be X, you know? Whereas if you go in the door kind of half sensible and just yourself, relaxed, go in with a positive attitude, smiley face, you don't know what you're going to get out of that filing drawer. You just don't. Yeah. And opportunities just keep flying, don't they, for them? And it's that's the satisfaction I get from it, is seeing what they achieve.
Yeah.
And it just gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling. And at the end of the day, Colin, I think now, like, giving back is well, it's one of my top priorities, isn't it? That's what I get.
We do enjoy that, definitely.
Yeah.
100%.
So I guess I should say the thing that we're talking about here is the financial freedom challenges that are part of the Samuel Leeds Academy. So yeah, if you're interested in doing one of those, there's a link in the description for to learn more about Samuel's training. There's also a link if you want to come to one of the inner circles that we mentioned where I first met Nina. There's a link where you can come as a guest in the description below. So yeah, thank you for everything.
Amazing.
It's been a pleasure to know you over the last couple of years.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you for what you're doing on the Academy now, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. We've enjoyed it.
That was great. It's great to catch up.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Thanks, Colin.
Thank you for watching. And I really hope you found this episode helpful. If you have, and you haven't already, make sure you click subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and let us know what you think in the comments so that I can keep bringing you interesting and valuable information through the amazing guests that I am having on the show. Also, as I was saying earlier, more importantly than that, join the mailing list, because YouTube isn't optimized to give you value, it's optimized to distract you. But I think that the content I'm trying to give you is more valuable, and I'm trying to help you build that wealth mindset. So if that is something that interests to you, don't rely on YouTube and Google to notify you. Join the mailing list and you'll just get an email every now and then when there's a new episode available. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.